Hey everyone, it's Shihan Miller. We're here with our this week's episode of Whiteboard Wednesday, and since it's live, I should probably not be tripping over my own words. Trying to get things set up here so we have everything where it belongs. Excellent. Okay, so Whiteboard Wednesday. Obviously, it's Wednesday. Today's April 27th, if it matters, of 2022. So if you're following along, you can kind of keep track of these things, and if you're watching the recording later on in my future, then I don't know that it matters, right? Anyway, all right. So this week we're going to be taking a look at another one of these key principles. You might hear it sometimes, right? I know when I first got involved in the training, there were three key aspects of everything. And again, remember, when I got involved in things, we were talking about principles and concepts, and then the models, right? The kata, whatever you want to call them. As a matter of fact, we weren't even told about kata. Right? Here's an example. Here's an example. Here's an example. No names, right? So my notebooks from the early days are laden with, and this is from Hatsumi Sensei. This is from everybody that I trained, laden with Ichimonji defense against punch, Jumonji defense or earth defense again, whatever. Because we use that Godai model, which some people like, some people don't. I don't care. Anyway, but. Again, based on these principles, it wasn't about techniques, it wasn't about punches, kamae, kata, lineages, whatever, because none of that stuff mattered. What mattered in the earliest days was that in the face of all of this conventional martial arts stuff going on, where everybody was trying to pick and choose between styles, there was a concerted effort on the part of Hatsumi Sensei and the master teachers of the time to make sure that we understood not just how this was different, but to look at things in a way that made a difference, right? Because ultimately, when it comes to style or things that we do with our body, there's only so many things you can do to a human body. So yeah, there's different approaches, right? But while everybody was doing the but our style versus their style, whatever was going on, we were pointed to similarities, right? Somebody really understood the principles and concepts of true Budo, right? Didn't matter if it was somebody within our art teaching it or it was, I don't know, there are a couple of references come to mind because these were the popular ones early on, like Paulie Zick and Drunken Monkey Kung Fu. Doesn't look any freaking thing like anything that we do, but timing, distancing, angling, all this kind of stuff, right, was dead on the money, right? Paul Vunak from Jeet Kune Do, those kind of things, right? Some of these guys, it wasn't a style thing. It was principles and concepts, right? So everything kind of got brought down to or reduced to three. Again, there's that 3 in 1, 1 in 3 kind of thing. Three principles that we were going to focus on and pulling of these examples, right? So one, Nagare, right? Nagare, right? Not Nagashi, right? Nagare. Flow, right? I know, sloppy writing, right? Nagare, kotsu, right? Essence. Not essence, right? Essential nature kind of thing, right? What's the essential nature of the technique, right? And then Ritsudo. Ritsudo, that's an S. Ritsudo, right? Traditionally translated as rhythm, right? But it implies a bunch of other things as well, right? So different whiteboard, different lessons, different seminars or whatever, right? These things are all in there, but we might pull one out and really look at it, which is what, lost my erase that, right? So that's what we're going to do today, this idea of Ritsudo, right? Again, things tend to get minimally translated. Okay, it's kind of like in a Whiteboard Wednesday coming up down the line, right? I'm going to be talking about this idea of Tai Sabiki, right? Tai Sabiki, which most people translate as evasion, right? And while evading is a part of it, that's not what it means, right? I'm a big fan of starting with the actual translation language of the words and then moving from there, right? And if you've been around for any length of time, anything by Hatsumi Sensei or whatever, he's a big fan of taking kanji that are pronounced exactly the same as the root lesson that we're learning, right? And doing this juxtaposition, right? Just swapping them out and then telling us now explore it from that perspective, right? We're going to do that same thing with Ritsudo today as well. But with, well, actually, we can, but it's not easy. So with this Tai Sabiki, right? Tai Sabiki, most people get it as evasion, but Tai Sabiki is very, very, very specific in that, yes, you're evading, but you're setting yourself up so that you're in this perfect place, right? Body management, Sabaki, this kanji that we're looking at, right, means management, right? Body control, body management, right? How do I handle things? How do I move things into the right place, right? There's also ashi sabaki, right? Normally or conventionally translated as work, but it's leg, feet management, right? Are you controlling these things properly? Tai Sabaki, right? Hand positioning, hand management, that kind of thing, right? Very, very different. So anyway, again, we're going to take a look at this idea of Ritsudo, and we'll takes, it might not be very long, but I'm going to look at it from the perspective of there's three aspects of it that I hear from my guys who are going from Shodan, first degree black belt, to Nidan, right? Now, my curriculum is not laid out the way most people are used to seeing things being done in Japan, right? Based on things that Hatsumi Sensei has said in class or conversations or whatever, right? The way he describes a lot of the things that that I look for my guys going for Nidan, right? He describes that as for people that are being ranked out of Japan at the 8th or 9th Dan level. Okay, so be careful getting yourself all wrapped up the number, the size, the number behind this thing, right? Because that's not what's going to save your life. Life is your ability to apply the lessons under pressure against somebody who's looking to beat, break, or kill you. Okay, agree? Great. If not, you're probably already one of the guys that hopped on and hopped right back off because they were expecting a trained monkey entertaining them, and it was just a replacement for some YouTube video. Who knows? Anyway, all right, so Itsudo, right? A couple of different ways to look at this. When one of the things that I was taught when I was coming up through the ranks was Ritsudo is timing, right? Problem with that is if you look up the translation for the word timing into Japanese, right, what you're going to see is timingu, right? So what that means is it's an imported word because there's no good word in Japanese to reference this idea of timing, right? You're going to have to hint around at different things like coordinate and kind of a best moment or whatever, right? Best conditions, those kind of things, right? So the translation for Itsudo is just conventionally rhythm, okay? And it implies almost a musical sense, okay? But we can also look at this from the perspective of timing, right? Other ways that you can look at this timing idea is like flow, right? Losing this broken kind of thing that's popular in a lot of martial arts, right? Okay. So again, there's three aspects of this that I require that my guys who are going for second degree black belt are good at, okay? Because everything else is going to be based on that, right? Second degree black belt in my curriculum is really about somebody who I believe can use Ninpo Taijutsu to defend against the singular attacker on the street, right? Not the highly trained killer or whatever, but just average attacker on the street, whether it's somebody that's blown a gasket and they've got an anger management moment, they're coming at you, or whatever, right? Okay. No special skills, no special assassin status, nothing like that, right? But they're able to use Ninpo Taijutsu alone. Nothing else. They're not going to fall back on high school wrestling, their golden belt boxing years, shit my pants dough, whatever. Right? They're gonna be able to handle the situation with Ninpo Taijutsu, using the principles and concepts. Right? Go along with what the guy's doing and be able to handle that situation. Single attacker. Right? Sandan and above. Now we're looking at multiple attackers, armed attackers, all that kind of stuff. So if we don't have things by Nidan, there's going to be a problem, right? And I'm not talking about being able to like do awesome demonstrations in the dojo, right? Okay. So three aspects, right? And we could use different words for these, right? But the first one, which everybody should be working on from day, is what we typically call flow, right? But all of these involve flow, right? But what I'm talking about here is personal, right? So it's the coordinated movements of your body. Okay? So do we, when let's say we're doing ichimonji no kata, we're doing no kata, whatever, right? Do we shift into a position, one, and we come back in, right, to do this thing, right? Which is not flow, by the way. There may be flow here, but is it really flow, or are we falling and catching? Okay? Or is it where there's a pronounced, I'm going to back this thing up here a little bit. I'm my own producer at the same time, right? So we'll see what happens here, right? So is there a pronounced movement of the legs with control where one leg is doing its thing, right? But the other leg is also controlling that, right? Where it's singing while I'm moving, or are we just kind of falling, right? And letting gravity do the work and what, right? So are we doing that, which in all honesty is no different from the guy who does this, right? Or are we shifting and then moving back in? So as I probably not going to be able to do this. This is not a good format for this. But anyway, as I move back and I shift and catch, right, is there this transition from offense to defense and all that? We have all kinds of drills to help students with this idea. But what this first aspect is about is me. Can I flow from position to position to position with my own body, coordinating the parts of my body so that everything works together, right? Synergism, okay? It's coordination of your body, okay? The second aspect of flow, right? Timing, whatever, right? Which is now really, they're all really about rhythm, right? But what we're looking at here, I'm going to use a term, I'm going to call this shadowing. Okay? So shadowing, again, sloppy writing, anyway, right? Shadowing, right? So what we're doing here is we're matching our movement to him. Okay? Whatever speed he's going, I'm going. I'm able to match his attack, and as things open up, I'm able to move into those things, and it's not we have a drill called enundo, and so imagine that somebody else is coming, right? But he throws a punch, let's say it's with his right hand, I shift back into my right, counter that, come back in with my own, he comes back in. Both doing the same thing, just we're matching each other, right? So he's coming in with an attack, I'm defending, I move back in, he does the same thing I just did, comes back in, I move. So we end up moving around in a circle. N means circular, right? But it also implies this kind of thing, right? Defense to offense transition, offense to defense transition, right? So in the very, very beginning, when people are still trying to figure out everything, right? What it looks like is this. Okay. One, barely any kind of flow here. Two, what the problem is that we're not able to take advantage of openings when his balance breaks because we're still stopping and starting, right? So in this case, what we're looking at is kind of like the O wave kind of thing, right? Pulls back, rolls over itself, and crashes back in. There's no stop to it. Just like when it crashed back in, the power runs out at the beach, and then it's already pulling back, right? There's no breaking, right? It's just this constant moving, right? So what it should turn into is I receive, and as I'm moving forward to break his balance, right, I'm already throwing this thing in, right? As I'm going forward, as he defends, and that coming back in, I'm able to roll that around. So there's no stop. There's no stopping and starting, okay? And this requires extra skill, but what we're really doing here is about us. Okay, it's about me being able to coordinate this this machine, right? At this level, I'm matching him. So whatever speed he's coming in at me with, I'm gonna do that, right? Whatever his timing is, right? Slow, fast, jittery, whatever, right? I want to match that, right? So I let him lead the dance, right? Okay? This is very much like dancing. One of my teachers used to say this, and I tell my students every once in a while, this is just like dancing. The only difference is that your partner falls down, or you fall down if they catch you, right? But this is about shadowing, okay? And then the third one is about I'm going to use two words here: intent and aging. Okay, so we've got our body coordinated, right, and we're able to move around. But can we do that based on what he's doing? Okay, here doesn't matter. I can be shadow boxing, whatever, right? Here, I have to be matching him. I have to be in tune with what this guy's doing, right? So I'm following his body. It's like, he's moving around and I'm the mirror image, or I'm his shadow, right? You never lose your shadow, right? And then intent and staging, what this is this connection with an intuitive rhythm, right? Sometimes it's called the breath of the fight, where there's this back and forth, right? And so at this age, we lose the titles of attacker defender, okay? Because here, when we're doing base level techniques, right? He's attacking me, I'm defending, whatever, right? The way the kata are written out, right? You're just little snapshots in time, right? A kata, in the grand scheme of a fight, the kata is like that, because there's plenty that come before it, there's plenty that come after, right? But everybody tends to learn it like that's the fight. Well, that's the ideal. That'd be awesome, right? But how often does that happen? I don't know. I guess it depends on how masterful you are and whether or not you pulled out your phaser from Star Trek and just zap the guy and it's all over, right? But what we have to understand is, first thing we have to do is come down off of our moral high ground, okay? Have you ever noticed that with our techniques and the things that we're learning how to do, right, worse than what most attackers would ever try to do to you? And I don't mean that somebody might try to punch you or kick you or stab you or shoot you or whatever. We've seen some of our techniques. Holy shit, right? We're like on shoulder joints. We're snapping knees backwards. I mean, the kind of things that we're doing, but from a moral high ground, right? As the defender, say out aloud, because he attacked me. No, bullshit, right? Okay, this is not about a right or wrong kind of thing. This is, but this level, what we do is we lose the designators of attacker defender as a set thing. Like the uke is always the attacker, the hori is always the defender, right? And what we get to here is that whoever is initiating or executing a technique is the attacker in that microsecond, in that moment. And the person who's responding to that, trying to escape it, resist it, defend against it, is the defender, right? So there's this back and forth, right? So just like here, when we learned enundo as this back and forth, attack to defense transition, defense to attack transition, that kind of thing, right? This becomes the fight, right? There's this back and forth until, as one of my teachers used to say, until peace once again reigns, okay? Not reigns, right? Reigns, R-E, never mind. So what we're looking at here is understanding this back and forth. So how do we control that, right? So when we're looking at the timing, right, the rhythm, what we're looking at here is, do we match him or do we break it? We have to be able to feel this intuitively. We have to be able to sense what that rhythm, what that timing is, right? And then we have control, right? Then we can diss it, we can go with it, we can feed it, right? I don't know, when was the last time I think in one of the previous episodes I covered that Gogyo, right? The 5-element system that was imported from China and is used heavily in Chinese medicine and metaphysics and things like that, right? So it's the same idea, right? Go back in the recording, take a snapshot. You need it, right? But there are these 5 elements, right? And I'm just starting someplace just because I can, right? Fire, earth, uh, metal, water, and wood. Sorry, wood. Okay. Otherwise, it's a tree, right? Wood, right? So when I can pick up on this, when I can pick up on this breath of the fight, so to speak, right? And if we think about this from a meditation kind of standpoint, right? I'm the object, subject, designators in the ego kind of figuring out how things are going on, right? Goes away, and I'm just in the experience. Okay, this is why Hatsumi Sensei says Budo's not an academic study, right? Now we can do things like this so that we can use the left brain to direct training so that we can get into these things. But actually, while you're doing things, you shouldn't be thinking about it. Unless you're brand new and going, okay, I need to step back here, I counter strike that, right? But very quickly, you need to get through that so that you can get to the intuitive right brain kind of side of things, right? But we need to be able to pick up on this breath, right? We need to be able to feel his intention. We need to be able to feel his strength, power, whether or not we're touching him, right? There's all this intuitive kind of stuff going on, right? It's kind of it's part of the gokui, part of this is all over the place, right? So if I'm able to feel this, right, then I can match what he's doing with this shadowing, right, which is like this progressive cycle, right? So I know that when we're in a certain place, and again, left brain, you can't be thinking about this because you're going to eat your teeth, right? Right. So wherever I am or wherever he is, I know that if I just stay with it, I know where it's going, right? In a previous, I think it was one of our weekly virtual classes, I was talking about this high level kind of sense that I look for candidates going to fourth dan, right? Because this keeps building and getting us more and more ready for the fifth dan test, right? But what we're looking at is with experience and with all these other senses going on, right? If I know where he's going to be, when he gets where he's going, I don't have to change, right? I don't have to keep following, right? And then hoping that something opens up or whatever, right? Based on the way this guy punches, based on the intent, the energy, the strength, his body, all that kind of stuff, right? I know where his body parts, I know where he will be when he gets where he's going. So instead of going the way, like is taught in most kata, right? What I'm going to shortcut the system. I'm just going to meet him there. So it's going to look counterintuitive. Like, well, you didn't block the arm. The kata said block the arm. Yeah, no, I know, but the kata said that I need to be right here because I can take him off his feet right here, right? So if I know what this is going on, then I can use this, right? I can just ride the rhythm, go with the flow, whatever you want to say, right? And just meet him there, right? With the right technique, with the right tactic, okay? Or I can do the opposite, right? So the destructive cycle in the Gogyo, right? So in this case, he's got a certain rhythm going on. He has a certain preference. He has a certain, there's a certain flow going on. And so what I'll do is I'll disrupt it, okay? An example of this, a really simple example, let's say you're coordinating your body. You're really good at rolling, okay? And again, you have to be really, really good at this because if you're afraid of going to the ground, if you don't have the flow, all that kind of stuff, this is not going to work so well. But, I shoved by his friend, right? I got a guy in front of me, but his friend shoves me, right? And I end up going to the ground. So I got somebody that's going to meet me at the other end. He's right there. He's waiting for me to come up. Okay. So if I lack the ability inside the roll while my body is moving to change directions, right? Or to change something else, when I come out of that roll, I'm going to fist, right? So one of the things that we teach intermediate and leading into advanced students is okay, what you're going to do in the roll, right, is you're going to change your exhaling breath. You're going to push things out faster, and you're going to tighten the ball. You're going to bring yourself in a little bit tighter, right? And what that's going to do, because as you enter, there's a certain speed to that. And as you start the roll, there's a certain speed to that. And our brains jump ahead. We still get a couple of pieces of information, right? One of the big things with our Mikyo training is not second guessing things, right? And understanding that we have a tendency to shortcut, right? Assumptions, just like a lot of people do when they sign on to these things or they come into class and then jump right back off because they hear me start to say something, they assume they know the answer at that lesson, and they go about their business, right? And then they miss a whole shit ton of stuff they didn't know because, well, they're already a master, right? So, but if they do, what'll end up happening is their speed, the roll speed, will double or almost double, which means they're going to come out of the roll faster than they went into it. It disrupts his sense of timing because his brain is formulating where he needs to be to meet you on the way, and all of a sudden it's a surprise because you end up springing up, okay? So there's a bunch of things like that where you can change the timing, right? You start moving a certain way, or you start moving in a certain direction so that causes him to follow you, right? To want to meet you where you're going because, he's smarter than you. He's trickier than you, right? I mean, he's just like the rest of us. So why would he not have the same frailties, right? So, and what we can do is we can change that so that it throws off. I just did something like that. Was it last night? What's today? Wednesday. Last night in class, we did one of those things. It's very much like in Japan where I'll call a senior out. He'll demonstrate something or something else into it. And one of the techniques had somebody coming in to punch me. And as the whole time they were winding up, the whole time they were starting to initiate that punch, I'm backing up away from them, which is causing them to have to rush to get at me and to throw the punch. So slow, and then very quick, bring the hands in place. They end up launching themselves forward into whatever else I have waiting. But it's a change of the timing, right? It's a change of the rhythm, okay? It's like people often say it's like listening to a bad DJ, right? When they're mixing music. So they got one thing going on, right? Dance music, dun, 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 right? And they lead into the next thing. It's very similar, dun, 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 right? And all of a sudden, they throw in something that is completely off, right? And where the hell did that come from? Holy crap. Is your brain a second to process it or more? And so it's different, right? So the idea with this Ritsudo, right? I'm going to change a word here. Let's do this. This is all about flow and how we're doing it or not doing it, right? Let's use this one, right? So let's just bring the coordination back here. But it's not just coordination, it's coordinated flow, right? I have to have this. I have to be able to easily, freely move my body around where it doesn't get in my own way, right? I don't jam myself up. I don't break my own balance, right? Start stiff, okay? I've made sure that I've done lots of stretching exercises to make the hips, the knees, and the ankles as supple as possible, greater range of motion, the muscles strong enough to carry the torso around, that kind of stuff, right? Even extending those hip stretches under the lower part, small of the back kind of thing, right? But I need to be able to move freely. I need to be able to move wherever I need to at whatever speed, right? So it doesn't matter if we're moving very, very quickly or we're moving at Tai Chi speed, what I call Tai Chi speed, right? Where there's this flow, right? There's this fluid motion. So that's one, right? And then we're paying attention to letting him be letting him lead the dance, okay? And then what we're going to do is match that, okay? And then once we're able to do that, right? It's very difficult. I mean, most people would. Sorry, this is funny. I've seen people have really, really crappy tactics, techniques, body skills, and all that. And so their crutch is this thing called henka, variation, right? Well, things weren't going the same way, so I had to change. Maybe you had to change because you can't duplicate the same thing regardless of what angle it's coming in on or whatever, right? But it's damn near impossible to break the rhythm, right? I mean, it's already broken if you can't match somebody. That's not the same thing, right? But it's damn near impossible to break his rhythm if you can't shadow his rhythm, if you can't match it, right? So this is letting him lead, right? So it doesn't matter whether, let's see, James, my guy James, who's 6'4", 6'5", give or take, right? James is really tall. I'm 5'6" and change, right? Doesn't matter if it's him. Doesn't matter if it's Shoji Whistler, who's about my height. Doesn't matter, whatever, right? It doesn't matter what this person's reach is. It doesn't matter what their body build is. It doesn't matter, adjustment and all that kind of stuff. When this guy punches, I'm able to go and use that Tai Sabiki talk about later, right? I'm able to go to the right place at the right time, so he's busy missing when my counter strike is hitting, right? When my uke nagashi is making contact with him, right? Not he's stopped and then I'm making contact. Not he's still extending, I make contact. He's able to ride that off unless he's, we're both subject to the terrible condition called dojo syndrome, right? Where we're both going to help each other out. So we both look freaking awesome, right? It's a terrible disease because nobody on the freaking is going to help you beat their ass. And if they do, maybe they've got, I don't know, suicide by ninja in mind or something. Anyway, right? So I need to match it regardless of who I'm working with. Again, another common thing in the dojo is people gravitate to the same training partners, right? Because, I know how he's going to operate. I know how he's going to work. Well, that's all great. Okay. What about the guy on the street? Okay. You're paying somebody to attack you a certain way. You can hand him a script. You're going to choreograph the attack. No, of course not. Right. So I need to be able to match it. Okay. That's a second aspect. And a third aspect, again, is this intent staging kind of thing, right? Where I'm setting up his downfall by either going with him or by disrupting it. Right. So, kind of thing. All right. So anyway, that's what I want to cover this time, right? Itsudo, we use it to mean timing as well, although there's not a good word for timing in Japanese. Again, most Japanese that I know, whether they're instructors or just people off the street, do a Quora search, right? And you'll find a lot of Japanese people, it's just an imported word. Like we say karate, right? It's karate, but right, we say karate. Right? And everybody knows what you're talking about when you say karate, right? Because it's an imported word. It's not an English word, right? We just understand what they mean, right? So, but it really points to this idea of rhythm, right? Coordination, different aspects: coordination, flow, rhythm. It's having a sense of the way I was introduced to this was like a breath. There's a certain rhythm to somebody's breathing, right? And in different emotional states, that rhythm is different. When somebody's very, very calm and relaxed, probably while you're listening to this or watching this, right? Unless you're just uber agitated about what I'm talking about and you can't wait to post a comment about what kind of shit I'm full of, right? Or you just laugh. If you're just watching, right? And you're just taking it all in, you're breathing, your breath is very slow in, it's very slow out. We call that earth breathing, right? Very slow in. There might even be a pause and then this slow out, right? If we're not careful, it'll end up being too shallow. We're going to take a deep breath every once in a while, right? Okay. If we're very, very agitated, if we're anxious, if we're defensive, if we're overwhelmed emotionally, right? It could be this long, jittery, jagged kind of in, and then this crashing out, again, like an ocean wave without the jittery, right? So somebody's sitting and just being totally distraught, right? Might sound like, right? Where they're trying to get their breath back, but it's just over. That's actually like very much like our cleansing breath without the jaggedness. When you feel everything kind of being boxed in, you realized you were breathing shallow, you're overwhelmed, you got too much in the way of negative gases building up and all that. You need to clear some things out so that you can free up, relax, that kind of thing. Right? Very water breathing, that kind of thing, right? Somebody who's either in the middle of some like sport kind of thing, or they could be running, they could be pissed off or whatever, right? It's just this, it's almost a panting kind of thing going on, right? Just hot and ready to go, right? And then you got this other type of thing where somebody's just trying to calm themselves down, right, from being surprised or just being not a big overwhelm, but it's a kind of a quick thing where it causes you to gasp kind of thing. Right? It's like right. Well, that was just very short, but if I can ration that breath and keep it going, I can keep it going as long as possible, and that way I don't need another breath until you hear it run out. Okay, so it's wind breathing, right? Quick in, long out, right? So just like the breath has the breathing system, right, has certain breathing patterns or breath patterns, right? That can be extended out all the way, right? A person's body movement can be very, very herky-jerky. If they're not thinking clearly, they're trying to figure it out and how to get at you, right? It's going to be very, very jittery. Rhythm to that, right? Somebody who's just boss rushing you, right? Rhythm to that, right? Somebody who's this haul off kind of guy. There's a rhythm to that, right? And if I could feel that, if I can sense that, right? Not think about it, right? Then I match it. I can disrupt those kind of things, right? And again, this is not Sabaki, but it has everything to do with Tai Sabaki because there's a moment to move. There's a moment that I want to meet him, that kind of thing. Just like there's a best time, right? Rhythm-wise, there's a best time to make contact with the arm with your uke nagash. There's a best time for your arm to be making contact with his arm as your foot touches the ground. And then shoulder body moves as the knee shifts, hips move, that kind of thing. There's a rhythm, there's a timing to that, right? So we want to explore them at different levels. So we don't just have control of ourselves. We don't just have control of the bubble in that he can't get at me or I can fit into his openings but avoid his extension, right? His attacks, right? And then this back and forth, race number 3, but this back and forth give and take. And I'm able to sense that so that I can catch him. I can catch him. It's not the same, right? Catch him by following the breath, right? Matching his rhythm or disrupting his rhythm. Very, very different. Okay. Guess what? This isn't written in the scrolls. Okay. This is what's passed on through, and this is a part of developmental kind of things. What's in the scrolls is although that's not what's implied, but that's how you have to write out using left brain language. Step 1, step 2, step 3, onaji, which means step 1, 2, 3, same time, right? Or onaji, 1, 2, 3, right? It's not 1, 2, 3. As soon as the word onaji is in place on the scroll, well, that means same time, okay? And that word is littered all over the place, or words like it that imply what was just listed or what's to follow is done at the same time. That's part of the rhythm. If we do it 1, 2, 3, that's a different rhythm. Guess what? He can now fit his 1, 2, 3 in between those things. Cracks that didn't get spackled, right? So we want to be very, very careful in understanding this. So it's our movement, just like dance, can be very musical, right? That doesn't mean that you hear music, right? If you hear Flight of the Valkyries, right, while you're fighting, either you've got the coolest freaking internal dialogue possible, or I don't know, maybe the guys with the coats are coming. Anyway, right? But rhythm, breath, timing, coordination, flow, those kind of things, right? Hopefully this helped. If you want to take a look at some physical examples of this, we're going to do a deep dive again Friday, and we're going to take a look at some training models. I'm going to run some students through in each of these so that we're real clear about what it is that we're looking at, or at least clear about things from the perspective of the limited examples that I can go through in about 75 to 90 minutes. But check out, where is it? Every time I do the camera thing, I'm always in the wrong spot, right? So the URL right here, virtual Friday virtual training. Hop on over there. The page is already set up. It's $4.99 for the class. If you want to do it, great. If not, harm no foul. If you're watching this in the future, you've already missed the class. Okay? So hopefully I'll see you on, and if not, no harm, no foul. For those of you, again, near March 27th of 2022 listening to this, we have our annual spring camp coming up. We have a live version and a virtual version. It's the same thing. We just, depends on where your ass is, right? So it's May 13th, 14th, and 15th, right? And during this camp, we're going to be dealing with a lot of these mental aspects, right? Things that people get wrong, things that people don't even know about, right? Getting our inner game right and getting that to match, right? Our physical movements so that we have a greater advantage. All of this stuff, right? It's designed to give you a greater advantage. But the cool thing is that this stuff works. Okay, just like everything that we teach, whether it's the 5Ds or the 8 phases of effective self-defense strategy, whatever. All the cool thing, and this is what attracts it, right? Ooh, ninja shit works, right? Bujinkan works, Budo Taijutsu works. Yeah, of course it does. Here's the downside. It works for whoever's better at it. It works for whoever's in control of it at the moment. Knowing something and being able to apply something under pressure when the stakes are whether you get to wake up on the side of the grass tomorrow or not, that's completely different. Right? Anyway, if I can be of help, let me know. We've got some openings right now for the folks in our long distance training program, our Platinum Plus program, Inner Circle, that kind of thing. If you want to do that, you can shoot me an email at warriorc@war-concepts-online.com. And in the subject line, put call request, and then we'll start a little dialogue back and forth to see if, at least at a first, this is going to be something that is worth pursuing on both ends, right? And then after that, if everything works out, we can set up a call, hop on. You can tell me about yourself and your goals and all that. And either way, whether or not you decide to jump on one of our programs or not, I'm going to give you some hints and tips for moving to the next step. Okay, but I'm not doing this for kickers. If somebody's just looking for free consulting from somebody and they don't have any desire, not desire, everybody has desire, right? They don't have any wherewithal for moving forward, right? Or they doubt themselves, they have no confidence, they know they're not willing to do the work, whatever. They're just looking to get some free shit, right? Go to YouTube, okay? Lots of free shit on YouTube. Sometimes the free is shit, right? But either way, right? If you want to talk, great. If not, don't worry about it. If you want to make it in for the virtual call or virtual class, great. If not, don't worry about it. Okay? Either way, if you're still sticking out and I haven't totally pissed you off, I will see you next Wednesday on Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. See you guys. Be safe. Train hard. Talk to you soon.